Welcome to Christ or Christianity, where we compare what Christianity tells us with what Jesus actually said. Episode 6, Love. Today we're discussing what may be the most important question in all of Christianity. What matters most? If you asked 100 Christians that question, you'd probably hear 100 different answers. Faith, salvation, church attendance, prayer, the Bible, worship, evangelism, doctrine, morality. And while all of those things have their place, Jesus was actually asked this question directly. Not by modern Christians, not by theologians, not by pastors, by a religious expert of his time, a man who knew Scripture, a man who knew doctrine, a man who knew religious law. And his question was simple. Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? Matthew 22:36. In other words, what matters most? And Christ's answer should completely reshape how we understand faith. Modern Christianity often defines faith by belief, correct doctrine, correct theology, correct interpretations, correct positions, correct denominations, correct statements of faith. People ask, what do you believe about baptism? What do you believe about communion? What do you believe about prophecy? What do you believe about predestination? And these discussions can become so important that entire churches divide over them. Relationships end over them. Friendships dissolve over them. Entire denominations form around them. And yet when Jesus was asked what mattered most, he did not begin with doctrine. He began with love. Jesus says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." Matthew 22:37. Then he continues, "This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Matthew 22:39. Then comes perhaps the most astonishing statement. "On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets." Matthew 22:40. All of it. Everything. Every command, every teaching, every instruction, everything points back to these two principles. Love God. Love your neighbor. That is Christ's foundation. Notice something important. Jesus isn't creating a new idea. He's quoting Scripture. The first commandment comes from Deuteronomy. "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength." Deuteronomy 6-5. The second comes from, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Leviticus 19:18. Jesus doesn't abolish these teachings. He elevates them. He places them above everything else. The religious leaders had become consumed with laws. Christ points back to the purpose beneath the laws, love. One of the greatest tensions throughout Christ's ministry was the conflict between love and religious performance. The Pharisees were experts in religious behavior. They knew the law. They followed rituals. They maintained appearances. And yet Jesus repeatedly condemned them. Why? Because performance had replaced love. Jesus says, "These people draw near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me." Matthew 15:8. Notice the problem. Not lack of religious activity, lack of love, lack of genuine transformation. Their faith looked impressive externally, but internally something was missing. Love sounds simple until it becomes practical, because love is easy in theory, difficult in reality. It's easy to love people who agree with you, easy to love people who support you, easy to love people who treat you well. But Jesus constantly pushes beyond that. We've discussed the Good Samaritan in episode 3. A lawyer asks Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" Luke 10:29, and Jesus responds with one of the most famous parables in history. A man is beaten and left on the road. A priest passes by. A Levite passes by. Both religious men, both outwardly righteous. Neither stops. Then a Samaritan helps. The outsider, the enemy, the one society looked down upon. And Jesus asks, which of these three do you think was neighbor to him? Luke 10:36. The answer is obvious. Perhaps no teaching illustrates this better than Matthew chapter 5. Jesus says, "Love your enemies." Pause there, because that is one of the most radical teachings ever spoken. Not tolerate your enemies, not ignore. Love. Then he continues, "Bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you." Matthew 5:44. This teaching completely opposes human instinct, and it opposes much of modern culture, including modern Christian culture, because outrage is easier than love. Condemnation is easier than compassion. Retaliation is easier than forgiveness. Many people claim to love God. Jesus gives us a practical way to evaluate that claim, and it is simple. How do you treat people? John writes, "He who does not love his brother whom he has seen, how can he love God whom he has not seen?" 1 John 4:20. That is a difficult question, because loving God in theory is easy. Loving difficult people is not, yet Christ ties them together repeatedly. In John 8, religious leaders bring a woman caught in adultery. They want condemnation. They want judgment. They want punishment. Jesus responds differently. "He who is without sin among you, let him throw a stone first." One by one they leave. Then Jesus says, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." Notice what Christ does. He maintains truth, but he leads with mercy. Modern Christianity often reverses this. Truth first, mercy second. Sometimes mercy never. But Jesus repeatedly combines both. One reason Jesus condemned hypocrisy so strongly is because hypocrisy destroys love. Hypocrites become focused on appearance. Love focuses on people. Hypocrites protect image. Love serves others. Hypocrites seek recognition. Love seeks restoration. This is why Jesus repeatedly confronts religious pride, because pride suffocates love. One of the greatest temptations in modern Christianity is the desire to be right. People want the correct doctrine, the correct interpretation, the correct position. And again, truth matters. But Christ repeatedly shows that being right without love creates something ugly. Paul later writes, "Though I have all knowledge, but have not love, I am nothing." 1 Corinthians 13, nothing. That should humble all of us, because knowledge alone is not transformation. Consider Christ's interactions: the woman at the well, Zacchaeus, the tax collectors, the sinners, the outcasts, the lepers, the broken, the rejected. He doesn't begin with exclusion. He begins with relationship. Not because sin didn't matter, because people mattered. And love creates the possibility for transformation. Many churches today prioritize being correct, winning arguments, defending positions, protecting traditions, maintaining boundaries. And while some of these concerns have value, Christ consistently centers love. The question becomes, have we made secondary things primary? Because Jesus was asked what matters most, and he answered clearly, love. Pause for a moment. Who is hardest for you to love? A coworker? A family member? Someone online? Someone who hurt you? Someone who believes differently? Now ask, how would Christ treat them? Not how culture would, not how politics would, not how social media would, how Christ would, because that answer often reveals the gap between Christianity and Christ. This week, practice love intentionally. Listen more than you speak. Show patience when irritated. Offer mercy instead of immediate judgment. Serve someone who cannot repay you. Pray for someone you disagree with. Not because they deserve it, because Christ taught it. Love becomes real when it costs something. When Jesus was asked what mattered most, he did not point first to doctrine. He did not point first to religious identity. He did not point first to church attendance. He pointed to love. Love for God, love for neighbor. And then he made an extraordinary claim: on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Everything rests there, not because truth is unimportant, but because truth without love becomes cold. Religion without love becomes performance. Faith without love becomes hypocrisy. And Christianity without love stops looking like Christ. So today ask yourself, what matters most in my faith? Being right, being recognized, being accepted, or loving God and loving people the way Christ commanded? Because according to Jesus, that's where it all begins, and that's where it all ends. This has been Christ or Christianity. Which do you follow?
Help support our ministry by finding us on Patreon. This has been a Pervasive Media production. Copyright 2026, Pervasive Media and T.E. Martz. Music by Al Leopold. Additional music by Saints in the Alley, used with permission. Written and performed by Reverend Tom Martz.